Hi there, and welcome to this discussion about eyewitness memory and its implications for our legal system. Make sure to pay close attention to what I have to say, because I guarantee this information will be useful at some point in your life. Today, we're going to talk about putting memory on the stand. That is, we're discussing eyewitness testimonies in a legal setting, and if they're as reliable as you think that they are. The truth is that humans, being such social creatures, seem to place a lot of stock in what he said or what she said. For millennia, people have taken into deep consideration the word of someone who was there at the scene of the crime, someone who saw the fight, someone who heard the plan to rob the 7th Street Bank being discussed from the window above a dark alley during a rainy night at 3 a.m. Okay, that probably seemed overspecific. But if there's one thing that you take from this presentation, hopefully it is that the money lies in the details. Walk with me. When a witness is brought to the stand during court proceedings, the jury, judge, or whoever happens to have the time or necessity to be watching a case that they aren't directly involved in is looking to see if these witnesses can confirm or deny key details that have been presented in the case. It comes down to seeing how well the evidence available and the memories of the people involved line up. But before I get too off track, let's first talk about how people's memory even works. Somewhere else. You might believe that our memories work just like a camera, where we pick up information through our sensory organs like eyes and ears, and that information gets recorded and stored in our minds. And that's exactly correct, if cameras could be wrong, and if cameras caught things in higher definition when they were super excited about what they were recording, or in lower definition. And if over some time, some of the videos in your camera roll of Aaron suddenly turned into videos of Jacob. And if 90% of the time that you were using the camera, it wasn't even recording. So maybe that's not really the most accurate way to think of it. In reality, memory is a little more complex. First of all, there are two types of memory, semantic and episodic. Semantic memory is basically your remembrance of what things mean, your understanding of processes, and general concepts about the world. So when someone asks you how many continents there are, and you can't seem to remember that Australia is its own continent, you can blame your semantic memory for failing you. The other type of memory is episodic memory, which is most easily described as the episodes of your life. These are the memories where you preface them with, I saw, or I heard, or I felt. So when you're walking down the street and you witness a green Tesla slam into a lamppost, that event is officially an episode in the great memory show of you. Or when you heard someone playing the guitar in the background of this video a minute ago, that's now a part of your episodic memory. This is the memory that everyone in a criminal courtroom is hoping will contain details either implicating or absolving the defendant, the person who everybody's trying to decide whether or not is guilty of the crime that they're accused of committing. And this is where an eyewitness can come into play. So much stock is placed in eyewitness testimony. However, multiple studies in recent decades have confirmed that memories are actually pretty easy to manipulate. Turns out that your brain's video camera is really open to creative suggestions. A 2003 paper written by psychologist Elizabeth Loftus recounts how adults undergoing psychotherapy would uncover memories of their own parents sexually abusing them as children. Memories which actually landed more than one parent a solid sexual abuse conviction in court. It turns out that these supposed memories had been suggested to them when they were young children by other psychotherapists who were particularly influential at a vulnerable time in their lives. Scary, right? This same paper went a step further to experimentally examine the different ways in which eyewitnesses would testify about a car crash on the stand, depending on how they were asked about the incident. All participants were shown a video of the car crash and then examined concerning the details. Loftus writes that in select groups of participants, researchers would ask if the participants saw the broken headlight, in a tone that implies that there was a broken headlight and is only asking whether they witnessed it personally. The study found that in this group, more people falsely reported that there was a broken headlight, even though no headlights were harmed in the making of this exemplary car accident video. The entire experiment was done to demonstrate how different variables during witness questioning, such as questions which sort of lead the witness to answer a certain way, can totally interfere with the accuracy of a testimony. They would also ask participants about the impact itself, but would use different synonyms for the word impact to see if it would skew the answers, and spoiler alert, it did. When researchers asked how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other, people would give higher speed estimates on average than when the word hit was used instead. Smash does have a little more pizzazz to it, I can't lie. It almost begs you to go, "They were going 80 miles per hour, Your Honor, it was terrible." Maybe I'm just a drama queen, but the science is there. The incredible thing is, leading questions are only one way to twist the way that people remember things. It turns out that our minds are highly subject to the super scientific phenomenon called not wanting to be wrong. Dr. Elizabeth Loftus describes an experimental situation in which participants were shown the same car crash, but half of them were fed out straight-up lies about the scene before being asked questions about their recollection of the accident. The half that were given misinformation when asked about their own memories would start peddling the false facts that the researchers had given them. It's as if, after watching this video, I walked into your room or wherever you are to tell you that I used the word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious within the first 2 minutes of this video. And then you believed me. And then you testified under oath that I 100% said that word, even though I definitely didn't. Or did I?
It isn't like we haven't tried thinking of better ways to do this. Believe me. A 2013 study done by researchers Abraham and Joseph Levi examined the most foolhardy ways to arrange eyewitness identifications, meaning they were trying to figure out how to stop witnesses from naming an innocent man guilty by mistaking their identity when looking at their faces and physical builds. These researchers began examining main types of witness identification that have been used in legal settings. A recognizably inferior test is where the witness is simply shown a photo of the suspect and asked yes or no. Is this the guy or not? According to the study, this is called a show-up, but anyone can see the holes in this method. With only one option, if they remotely fit the description of the perp, witnesses were more likely to say, yes, that's the guy, because, well, who else could it be? Not to mention that if the witness condemns this person, there doesn't feel like much basis in the moment to call BS. If they say they saw that specific blonde guy push an old lady, well, who are we to question it? Next, we have the lineup, where the witness identifies one suspect out of a group of about 5 to be the criminal. The study found this method to be a bit more helpful, at the very least, in deciding how much to trust the witness's identification skills, because the witness who is really familiar with the perp's appearance should be able to pick them out of a small group. Is the theory, anyway. Do you think that you definitely and clearly remember the face of a guy who punched you in the nose and then ran a week ago? The law assumes so, but I have my doubts. Come on, this next part will be quick.
The generally accepted theory about memory formation basically is that there are 3 stages to it. The first is encoding, and this is where you initially experience or learn something, like hearing somebody's name that you just met. The second is storage, which is where your brain takes that information and slides it into either your short or your long-term memory, which is pretty self-explanatory. Your short-term memory lasts for less than a minute, while your long-term memory is anything longer than a minute. The third stage is retrieval, which describes the act of you recalling the thing that you learned and memorized. The second and third stages are the ones that I really want to focus on, because studies have shown that even after these stages are completed, external variables can disrupt the memory in question pretty significantly. A 2012 study examined a process called consolidation, which happens during memory storage. It was believed that after a memory was consolidated, it became fixed and could no longer be altered. But the truth is that these so-called fixed memories can be reactivated when you try to retrieve them. That is to say that upon retrieving memories, on a biochemical level, our brains treat this as almost overwriting these memories or even rewriting them. In the study, this is called reconsolidation and can lead to memories being altered or even ruined completely. So when I consider the whole eyewitness picking a criminal out of a lineup scenario, I get nervous thinking about how easily a person who is retrieving the memory of a possibly stressful event could overwrite their visual memory of a person with the face of someone standing in front of them who is the same height, has the same skin color, with a nose that's close enough. And according to this study, the one done by Elizabeth Loftus and many others, I'm inclined to believe that eyewitness testimony isn't as accurate as we seem to feel it is. So what are you going to do about it? It seems like a pretty big issue to tackle, but there's no problem that education can't fix. By watching this video, you've already taken the first step to understanding more about your mind and its memory, which means that if you remember what you learned, you can inform others. You can't underestimate the power of knowledge to the masses. I don't anticipate this being something that gets solved, immediately, because the reality is that it has also been very helpful to have people corroborate or disprove a story of events, especially in more straightforward circumstances that are simply missing that one piece of information. But that doesn't mean that we can't focus on improving our justice system every day, as well as our understanding of neurological processes that affect our daily lives. If you want to learn more about how memory works in depth, I suggest looking at YouTube channels such as Infographics or How Stuff Works, who get their information from peer-reviewed sources and probably explain it more elegantly than I. You can also find more information about the unreliability of eyewitness testimony by reading up on Elizabeth Loftus, who is truly a queen of the subject, or by searching for scientific journals on the subject for even more studies about how bad our memories are for evidence in legal proceedings. Aside from that, thank you for watching this video and learning something new. I hope you were paying attention. Woohoo! Whoa. You ain't off the hook yet. That video you just watched was filmed, created, and starred in by a criminal who is a suspect in a felony dog-hugging case. So we need to ask you some questions as a witness. You can pause in between questions if you like, but try not to rewind until we're done, okay? All right. Was the suspect wearing a sweater at the beginning of the video? What color flowers was the suspect sitting close to at one point in the video? What is one shirt color that the suspect was wearing while sitting on a bench? What instrument was playing in the background at one point in the video? The suspect referenced this. At any point, was the suspect wearing a colorful scrunchie on her wrist? Bonus points if you remember which one. Bonus points. What car model did the suspect say hit a lamppost? How many times did the suspect change shirts throughout the video? Did the suspect change shorts at any point throughout the video? Did the suspect at any point in the video use the word indubitably? That'll be all. Thanks for your cooperation.